Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Home Lee, and I'd like to welcome you all back to the channel. Sorry I missed a video for last week. Had a few things going on personally, professionally, things like that I had to get taken care of, so I wasn't able to get a video out. I'd actually meant to shoot this video and release it last week so that this week I would have something else for you, and again, things just kind of came up. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk to you about these blasters that I have here in front of me. But first, I want to mention the Adventure Force 500 dart refill. This is available for purchase at Walmart for $20. I think the 200 dart pack is $10. So for twice your money, you get about 2.5 times as many darts. That's a pretty good deal on those. I'm going to be buying up a couple more of these, getting ready for end war. They come in this nice little kind of bucket, got a handle on it, flap to open up and get in there. I think you can take that whole thing off if you wanted to, but nice little deal. I've heard that they're clearancing some of the 200 dart and 100 dart packs. I think that may be in order to make shelf space for those, but those are some really good darts. That's what the new Dart Zone stuff is coming with, is those Dart Zone waffles. So keep an eye out for those. They're available on Walmart.com and the Walmart app. Hopefully they'll be coming to stores soon for those that don't do online shopping. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and take the plastic off this one. I meant to do this before the video and just didn't. This, of course, is a blaster some of y'all are familiar with. Been on the shelves for a few years, but this is the Zombie Strike Flipfury from Nerf. Trademark on it or copyright on it is 2016. I could have swore it had been around a little bit longer than that. But you've got a top prime, just like with a strong arm, and you've got two basically strong arm cylinders here with 6 shots each. You've got a trigger that rotates between them, and then you have a trigger to pull to activate that. So 12 shots in total. Flip the drums, such as that. This one is out of package because I'm basically just like a big kid and I can't help myself. Our friend Valor just did a review on this himself. He somewhat liked it. He had a Flipfury he was comparing it to. The reason the Flipfury I've got here is new in box is I think I've got another one that I've not done anything to, but the only one that I can find that I have has an Orange ModWorks kit in it. Orange ModWorks makes a kit for the Flipfury that strengthens it up a little bit. It's a fairly decent kit. If you really like the Flipfury, I recommend looking into it. This is the Hyperspin from Adventure Force. This particular one is manufactured by Zuru or Xshot. It's basically the Adventure Force version of the new Xcess. They finally, I think, kind of figured out some of the deal with the Xcess. They removed the little piece that shot the foam discs up top, and they've put in a trigger to help with the barrel rotation on that. But it's a pretty nice little blaster. I do like the green and orange and blue repaint for the Adventure Force. Of course, if you get it in the Xshot line, you can get it in just basically straight blue and white with an orange tip on it. But it's out of the package because I couldn't help myself had to get it out and play around with it a little bit when I purchased it, and I was waiting for these two to show up at my house. And then lastly, we've got the Dart Zone Commando Iconic 4. None of these blasters, as far as I know, have a name of their own, but you get them in the Commando Iconic 4 pack. You have these little 4-shot manual rotate. You've got to rotate them by hand, and basically slam fire kind of pistol. You pull that back and it'll automatically fire the barrel that's at the top. Wacom has done a neat little mod with one of those, put the Smart AR off of a Rebel Messenger on one, and it looks like it's going to be quite fun. So these are the blasters we're dealing with. I'm going to go ahead and stop the video, pop everything that's still in the box out, and we'll do some quick comparisons here. Alright, so we've got all three out of their respective packages. We'll start off with the Flipfury, one that's kind of familiar to a lot of people. You do have your trigger, which allows for your cylinder rotation. Then when you prime, you pull the trigger, it fires, then the cylinder rotates. Pull the trigger, rotates there. It also, hold the trigger back, does have slam fire. So basically it's a doubled up strong arm. It's pretty good. I really like what Valor did with the one he was showing off today. He took Doominator cylinders and put in there, and that gave it a bit of a different look. I'm interested to see what it looks like when he does get that painted up. This is the only one that has a cylinder rotation mechanism, which some people have trouble with that, some don't, but it's there on this particular blaster. You do have loading ports from the front right there, so you can load up your darts with a little bit of ease. Go ahead, take and dump a few out of my bucket here. That way you guys can kind of see what the basic loading looks like on each one. And I mean, you can kind of tell I'm not super familiar with these. Alright, you got that. And flip your cylinders. And last two. And these are the darts that I will be chronoing with here momentarily. So that's a fully loaded Flipfury. Next up we have our Commando Iconic from Dart Zone. Wouldn't be surprised to also see this redone as an Adventure Force blaster, although with a repaint of the Xcess in the Adventure Force line, they might not. This blaster does not have any sort of mechanism to help flip the drums. With it, you kind of have to manually, and it does take a little bit of force. It does have a flip up sight, kind of reminiscent of what the Dart Zone Blitz fires had. It has a tack rail that kind of resembles Nerf rail, but don't have a locking tooth. But when you flip it, you've got to do the grunt work on it. Let's see. Yeah, and that just pops off real easy like it did on the Blitz fire. That grenade launcher's type sight don't really benefit much. Now I checked as I unboxed it a minute ago for slam fire. I'll show y'all here. Pull the trigger back. It rotates the cylinder, and you do have air going back and forth, but you're not going to get full firepower like you would with the Flipfury. However, we do have a bit more room for loading our darts in here. See more of the cylinder face open with at least 3 ports open in each one. You could potentially load that top cylinder, but there is a little bit of a space issue there. So basically, without any major rotation, I loaded all but one on that cylinder. And there it is, fully loaded, as you can see. It's quite a bit lighter than the Flipfury is. Of course, it don't have as much plastic up front, don't have the grip guard down below. It primes about like a blitz fire does. I think when Wacom fired his, it wasn't firing as hard. We'll see. I will chrono these here in a minute. Then lastly, we have the Adventure Force Hyperspin, or the X-Shot Xcess. You do have the trigger down here. What that does is it pulls back a mechanism that's right here, and it helps promote starting that spin. You do have it, don't trigger anymore there. You do have to complete the spin by hand, and then that cylinder kind of locks into place there. Hold the trigger back. No slam fire on that, which is unfortunate. Again, we've got about 4 parts of each cylinder, or the bottom cylinder, exposed here for easy loading. Makes it a bit quicker to reload than the Flipfury does. Then pull that back. That allows us to flip that cylinder around. And if you wanted to do it 3 at a time, that's a little more even than trying to get 4, but you are able to get 4 of them kind of opened up at a time there. As you see, these Adventure Force or Dart Zone waffles do clear in the mechanism, unlike some of the earlier models of the Xcess. So you're going to be able to use your regular elite style darts, elite length darts in this without any real trouble. So it does have good dart fit in the cylinders. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to stop the video here. I'm going to pop out, grab my chronograph. I'm going to put 12 darts from each blaster across the chrono, and I'll pop the results up for you. So I'll be right back. All right, so this is going to be take 2. I originally chronographed these and got some inconsistent and not really good numbers out of them. So I changed the situation with my chronograph and was able to get some numbers that were more like what I thought they should be. However, I'm still experiencing some issues with this Flipfury, and I don't know the way it sounds. Maybe the air restrictor is a bit off or something, or it's not sealing properly. because it's given me some numbers that are just absolutely off from what it should. I went back, and in my first thing I mentioned, I went and found Coop's review of this when it first came out and looked at his numbers to see, and it was way off. The second set of numbers were slightly better than the first. My first set, I was getting 33.3 feet per second. Second set, it got 37.5 feet per second, and that's for Ed Scar, that's 11.43 meters per second, which is not stellar at all. Coop was getting around 70 feet per second with his. I have had some blasters from Hasbro in recent years that have come to me from the factory primed. This one I don't think was primed, but there's something going on. It's not getting a good seal. It's not getting the performance that it should. I was just doing the feet per second for this just for comparison purposes, and it is just not where it should be. I'm sort of disappointed in that, and would really like to kind of know what the deal is. I'm thinking it's something with my seal. It is just not doing what it should. Next up, I referred to this as the Iconic blaster because it comes in the Commando Iconic 4. This blaster, originally I was getting, it was 65.83 when I got my chronograph set up a little bit better. It actually performed slightly worse with a 64.5. However, I do feel that those numbers were more consistent, had a lot less errors and things like that. And Ed, that's going to be 19.66 meters per second. So, you know, it's not where the Blitzfire is, but it's in the neighborhood of being on par performance. Next up, we've got the Hyperspin from Guru, and this on the first run through, I got 75.42, and on the second run through, I got 75.42. And with both sets, I got some kind of oddball number over 100 both times. I don't know why, don't know how. Everything else was in the 70s. So apparently that one dart just rocketed out of there. And that would be coming in about 22.99 meters per second is where that falls. So this was the hardest hitter today by at least 10 feet per second. It should have been by a smaller margin. So what would if I was going to pick one of these blasters to run in a war or in an HVZ or for grins and giggles, this one sort of pains me to say. Third place, I want to give to the Dart Zone blaster. I did have initially some trouble with consistency. It does seal fairly well, but to change these cylinders, it takes a little bit of grunt. I mean, you've got to put some force in that to get those to switch out. Hopefully, with time, it would get a little easier to do, but it's not going to be something easy to do in the heat of battle. It did get fairly decent numbers. If it would have got numbers up like the Blitzfire or the Magnum, it would have been a lot more of a consideration. Then when you compare it to the Flipfury, which is sort of the, I guess, the standard since it is made by Hasbro, it lacks slam fire, so you know that kind of takes a bit of functionality out of it. It is the smallest and lightest of the three. It don't have the hand guard down here. Has a fairly good grip, but it has a few things that need to be worked on with it. And I may take a crack at it and see what I can do, see if it'd take a strong arm or a retaliator spring, something like that, beef it up a little bit, and maybe do some adjustments to the mechanism to make it where those will swing a little bit easier as they're going. It's a nice little blaster. You know, for the money, it's a little bit better deal than the Flipfury, but I'd rank it third. And I love Dart Zone so much. It pains me to say that, but that one's going to come in third. Second place is going to be the Flipfury. This was the worst performer of the day. However, the flip mechanism is fairly reliable. Some people have had issues with what they refer to as the slip clutch on it in the past. Of course, this is more reliable than the Dominator, but it's still not exactly where it probably should be. It's a little harder to reload than the other two because you basically just have two slots open on the bottom cylinder that you can easily reload. You know, a little bit of trimming on the shell could probably take care of that. And then one advantage that it has, which, you know, some people care about it, some don't. I like to have it as an option, is the slam fire. Having that slam fire there, you know, if you don't want to use it, you don't have to. But if you get in a situation where you're needing to spam darts, you know, if you've shot a couple of rounds out of that first cylinder and, you know, you come up on a crowd, somebody gets a drop on you, and you flip that and see right there that slip clutch kind of tick up a little bit there. But you can flip that and spam some darts out. Flipfury's a nice little blaster. It just wasn't performing today. I don't know why I was getting the subpar numbers. I'm sure it's either something with the AR or something with the spring, but the blaster's been around for a little while. It is fairly handy, but you know, it was my second place for today. So that means our first place is going to be the Adventure Force Hyperspin or the Zuru X-Shot Xcess. This blaster, it does, unlike the Dart Zone one, it does have something to assist you with flipping those cylinders. It's a little clutch that disengages those, and if you get practiced at it, you hit that, and you can't operate it with one hand like you can the Flipfury to change the cylinders, but with just a little bump, you're there. It don't have slam fire, which, you know, again, some people like it, some don't, but it's one less offensive option. It was a solid hitter for today. It seals very well on the back of that cylinder, so you get some pretty good contact there, and the hand guard is a pretty good thing. It's not really cramped. It's fairly comfortable for me. That's really and truly, in my opinion, the only thing that this is missing is slam fire, which with Zuru, who knows, maybe they'll come up with an edition that has that. So those are the performance numbers that I got out of them, and kind of where I stand. the dart zone variation, I think, has some potential. Again, you know, if they would have taken a page out of the books of the Magnum or the Blitzfire, I think they really could have stepped that up a little bit and made a slightly more solid blaster that would have probably at least been my second place today. But it wasn't having it, even though the Flipfury, I think I got a lemon because I wasn't getting the performance out of it. I'll drop a link to Coop's review of that in the description so that you can see the numbers that he got, because he has very good testing procedures, always has. You know, for whatever reason, it just wasn't there. For the Dart Zone blaster, I think Wacom might have had a little better luck with his, so I'll drop a link to his review on that. That's a little more in depth. And for the Hyperspin, I'll probably drop a link to the video that Valor released just today on the Hyperspin, talking about it. It's a good, solid little blaster. All three of these are good options. If I was going to run one for what it is, of course, the Hyperspin is going to be what I'm going to go for. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know which one's your favorite. You know, if you've got any questions about them or how they operate, or, you know, if you have any questions about my testing procedures or anything, drop them in the comments below. I'll try to get back to you on them. But I really like this style blaster. What Drac would call a pseudo primary, what I would kind of consider a heavy secondary blaster that provides you with some options. Each one of them will hold 12 darts. Each one of them has exchangeable cylinders. You can load all of them on the fly. The Dart Zone and the Zuru Adventure Force ones are going to be a little bit easier to top off because they're fairly open on the cylinders in the front. So I think they would perform a little bit better if you've got scavenging gameplay going on. All of them are fun to use. I mean, to me, when the I didn't know about the original Xcess when the Flipfury first came out. When I saw it, I thought, man, that looks like a fun blaster. I've got one that's got the full orange ModWorks kit in it and replacement spring, the whole nine. This one will probably be getting that too at some point. And these will be getting upgraded somewhere along the way as well. But this style of blaster is just fun to use. You know, if you're playing around that's not a super serious round, you want to have something that gives you some different options. These are some blasters to consider. I don't know off the top of my head what the cost for this one would come out as. I think the pack with the two of these and the two smaller blasters was like 30 bucks. So, you know, let's just say you're not interested in smaller blasters, they'd put these at 15 each. The Adventure Force Hyperspin was approximately $10 at Walmart, walmart.com or whatever. The Xcess is somewhere in that neighborhood. So, you know, that's a pretty good option there. So you're looking $10 or $15 for these two, which this one's not available separately at this time. And then the Flipfury, you're looking at $18.88 is the MSRP on it that I've seen a lot lately. So you're talking almost $20 by the time you pay tax, and if you're buying it online, shipping or whatever, you're looking at almost $20 for this. So you can get two of these Hyperspins for one of the Flipfury. So to me, the loss of Slamfire isn't that big of a deal when you consider those prices. But this has been Homely. I'd like to thank y'all for watching the video. I'd like to thank y'all for your support. And I'd like to remind you at this time to keep flinging that foam. Have a good day, everybody.